Let's talk some more about the countdown to a kidnapping. Somebody introduced me to the idea recently, and you probably know where I heard it if you listen to the same shows I do. The idea was not an idea, it's just basically common sense, really, if you think about it, that mankind did not evolve to pursue truth. That's not what our DNA is, for the most part. You know, throughout the history of mankind, you know, as soon as we started rubbing two brain cells together and coming up with stuff, we started lying to each other because it's very convenient. And we also evolved to, you know, the biggest dog wins. So those two combinations of things are what mankind lived with for, you know, at least thousands of years. And you're not getting that out of your DNA in, you know, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. It's a small fraction. But hearing that gave me a theory. What if there are people that we've been in this world where, what if there are people who have evolved for truth? They've developed this gene, something in their DNA, where they need that. They did evolve for justice. We've been in this world that is reasonably comfortable for a very long time. A very long time. You know, a couple, 300 years, like I said, which is a small fraction in the span of all of humanity, but it's still a decent amount of time, enough to where maybe some people are starting to develop a gene. Or it's in their DNA to say, you know what, I don't really worry about where my next meal's coming from now. And so now I'm going to pursue bigger things. You know, I mean, you can't, it's hard to write a poem when there are bullets whizzing past your head. It's hard to concentrate about bigger things when you got immediate things that you have to deal with right in front of you. And so maybe the whole idea of government is a human evolution. Maybe it was something that was, with all its bad parts, it had more good parts that made it worth sucking it up. And especially when, you know, the United States and the Constitution and everything started, everybody's like, hey, maybe we can figure this shit out. And maybe we did for a while, but maybe we've evolved, or some of us have evolved past it. Because I can speak to some people with these same words and they get excited and they love individual liberty and they want to go out there and spread it, and they get evangelical. I know, I did that, I still do that, but I try to only preach to the choir now. Excuse me. Because there are enough people to make a choir, but maybe not a congregation. I guess that's a decent analogy. So yeah, I just I have a phrase that I say often, and it's, I'm not trying to take your government away from you. I'm trying to take your government away from me. I didn't ask for it. You don't get to pick the people who get to tell me what to do. You just don't. In the real world. But we're still living in a world where people need to be afraid. They need these huge concerns. We spent a long time worrying about if a saber-toothed cat was going to jump down out of a tree. Okay? That's why when something moves fast in your peripheral and it catches your eye and you turn your head. Why is that? Well, because your eyesight has evolved to be aware of predators and prey. And if you don't have to worry about that a lot over generations, your vision narrows. Maybe my vision, not physical eyesight, but like my focus is just more narrow. Some of the best anarchists I know are doing really well. I mean, they're not billionaires, maybe not millionaires, I don't know. I don't get into their business that close, but they know how to adapt. Just because you pay your taxes and come to a complete stop at a stop sign doesn't mean you're not an anarchist. It's about why are you doing those things? Are you doing it because you think it makes you a good person, or at least a better person, or are you doing it because you're afraid of the consequences if you don't? Now that's understandable. But even we anarchists need to take another leap forward. And you can't do that unless you've got a couple pennies to rub together. If you don't have a cushion, you have to think about what's right in front of you. It doesn't allow for contemplation. Supposedly the samurai could write a poem while in battle. That's always been my goal. I'm a long way from it. I have a hard. I don't know if I could write a poem when I'm sitting still. I know I can write songs, so I mean, the crazy state of the world can also be explained by this idea that humans evolved not for the pursuit of truth and justice, but for just survival. So, at a certain level, it might be in our DNA to hurt people. And a lot of people say, well, that's why you need government. Well, who the fuck do you think's making up government? There's more people. And they really have, the people who get elected, the people who run, still have this in their DNA. People who run for office. It's not worked out of their DNA yet. Once it does work its way out of your DNA, not only do you not see a need to run for office, you also don't see a need to vote for office. It all just seems superfluous. But then one day, one of these unevolved motherfuckers are going to point a gun at you if you start living like you're free for too long. You don't believe me? Try it. You have a countdown date. Either you're sacrificing your principles and you have a countdown date, or either you're sacrificing your principles and you don't have a countdown date, or you're not sacrificing your principles and you do have a countdown date until they're coming to get you. And the only way to get them off your back is to sacrifice your principles. That's the way it works. So the point that I've been trying to get to here and beating around the bush, this crazy state of the world that we're in can be explained by the fact that people lived this way for so long that it is in their DNA that most people, as of yet, ask me again in a couple hundred years, cannot wrap their head around individual liberty. It's a vague concept. They introduced it to me when I was young and I fell in love with it. But I fell in love with the idea so deep that it transcended my patriotism. Like, I love freedom and justice. I am 100% anti-slavery. I am against slavery in all forms. And yeah, I look around, 99.99% of us are slaves and we don't know it. And not only do people not know it, you can't explain it to them. You cannot explain it to them. They were born in prison. They do not possess the capability to comprehend the things that you're saying. They just don't. And so I'm not nearly as evangelical as I used to be. You know, I'm just looking for people who have the capacity, not just to understand the concepts, but to take that next evolutionary leap forward into applying those concepts to every day. And, you know, and forget all about my anger over my situation or your anger over your situation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how angry you are, okay? And I'm only doing this because this is a video. I would never do this to you if you were standing in front of me. But give me your fucking money. Give it to me. Get on your goddamn knees and give me your motherfucking money. That's what you're facing. That's what's coming down the pike. Okay? And I didn't scream it. I didn't get angry. I just demanded it. And this takes no emotion when you are 100% sure you're the good guy. So you better be thinking about how sure are you that you're the good guy before you put your hand on that firearm. Now, you know, if a cop heard just that line, he'd go, well, of course I'm a good guy. I'm the cop. Duh. He doesn't think about the fact that he's threatening a motherfucker's life because they didn't have the right sticker on their car. He never questions that. Any more than I can teach this little fucking dog multiplication. Okay? Any more than you can teach an ape how to write his name. You can try and teach him, and you can be patient and gentle and loving and try and try and try and never get angry at him. But if you don't eventually give up on trying to teach the ape, the Neanderthal, how to be a civilized human, and you keep pushing them, that ape is going to jump up and stab you in the neck with that pen because he's a fucking animal. It just stands to reason that if human beings evolved out of animals, then those who are more evolved will be less violent. Those who are less evolved will be more violent. I am one of the least violent people, philosophically, that you'll ever meet. Real world, boots on the ground, I get violent from time to time. I still have DNA that I'm trying to overcome, but I know the situation, and I'm actually attempting to overcome my DNA. Every time I get angry, every time I want to lash out at somebody, I ask myself, is my anger justified? Is it okay? Am I being the good guy? Statists, people who believe in the state, especially people who are part of it, they don't ask themselves that. They've already decided that they're the good guy. They already know. All right, well, that's my soliloquy for the day. I don't know if that's proper use of the term soliloquy, but it's out there. All right, everybody. I'm going to sign off. I'm thinking about trying to ramp up the productivity levels of this, even though almost nobody watches it. That's okay. I'm gonna put on my best performance, you know. I'm gonna get there. I'm not there yet, but I think I'm getting a little better, and need to not be so high when I'm rambling because I don't make as much sense to people. So, all right, I love y'all. Love the individual. Don't hate the statism. Don't hate the statist to hate the statism. I got to keep reminding myself that too. Just remember, they have no question in their mind when they're pointing that gun at you. So therefore, philosophy does not matter in the boots on the ground. It only matters to those who are evolved past it. All right. The light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe you.